guys. Hi, it's me, Kirsten, and this is the It's Giving Mystical podcast. And this is a little mini bonus podcast on the energy of July. I have been missing the long monthly podcasts and not recording them per se, but just some of the energetic work and value that goes into sitting with the cards and sharing that information with you. So much of my own learning comes from what comes through in these messages, what comes through in my teachings. I really do, I don't know, I guess I'm a channel. That's what I would say. And one of the ways that I'm able to get my own lessons, get my own work, do my own processing and integrating is by speaking, is by offering that same energy as a gift. Something about bringing it to you in this form of the podcast, or when I'm teaching in circle, or when I'm working one-on-one with a client. So much of what comes through is also a gift to me. So selfishly, I've been missing those monthly podcasts. I won't be doing the long version of them, I don't think. We'll see when we're done with this if I end up talking for 45 minutes. Hopefully not. It's the editing that gets me, not the talking. But I am hoping that we have a little time together today to talk about these two energies, because there's so much magic here. There's so much magic in the symmetry, the harmony, the system that is the universe. We think about things like astrology, numerology, tarot, energy work, the Akasha, and it can feel like these disparate things. And then sometimes you have these moments where it comes together and you're like, it's all been here the whole time. There's something about the collective momentum, the collective weaving that we are all creating together through these systems, with these systems, in these systems. There's some message that wants to come through, and it wants to come through. I say this all the time, but we're all trying to find our way into the same room. And we have many doors for that. There's many doors into this place of flow and connection and union and love and liberation. That's the room we're all trying to get into, and we all have to find our way there. We all have to find our individual pathway, our individual doorway, the gateways, the gifts, the invitations that sing to us and that we can respond to and that we can follow through. So when you find a book you love, or a teacher you love, or a system you love, and it lights something up in you, that's your invitation, that's your doorway, that's your invitation into the room that we're all trying to get to. A little closer to love, a little closer to source, a little closer to ourselves. Okay, so one of the reasons I want to talk about this today is A, because I've been missing it, B, because the energies for this month are the Chariot and the Devil. Those are interesting energies together. We have the 7 of the Chariot, which is always with us in July, meets the 8 of the Strength year, and it brings us into this Devil energy. One of the reasons that's so cool is because we are in this nest of the 2 Capricorn full moons, the one that happened at the end of June and the one that will happen at the end of July. Capricorn is with us. The Devil is the card of Capricorn. In between those two things, we have Cancer energy. We're in Cancer season, and we have the Cancer new moon, and the card of Cancer is the Chariot. So this tension between Cancer and Capricorn, between the mother energy and the father energy, between our desire to embrace the whole world and our desire to climb the mountain. All of those things are happening at once. There's this tension between these energies. They exist on a spectrum. Cancer and Capricorn are sister signs in that they are constantly learning, reflecting, differentiating from each other. So we have this Cancer energy, this Chariot energy with us. And the Chariot energy is interesting because one of the things I always say about Cancer is that it is underratedly powerful because it is a water sign, because it is between Pisces and Scorpio, which have their own mystique about them. Cancer can get this, and because it's associated with the mother energy, with feminine energy, it can have this reputation for, people will say Cancer can be smothering or overly emotional or overly sensitive because it's connected to the moon. And yes, it is a cardinal water sign, which means that Cancer is the only sign that can generate its own emotional energy, that can generate can birth new emotional energy. And I say this all the time. My middle daughter is a Cancer. I love her so much. Her energy is infectious in the best and the worst ways, meaning when she walks into a room in a bad mood, we are all going to know it. We are all going to feel that energy. And if she walks into the room in a good mood, we are all lifted by it. And there's something about the power of Cancer's emotional, energetic output that is so underrated, and it is, I think, a supreme superpower. And I wish every Cancer in the world knew they have the ability to enter space and wash that space in energy, and they can use those powers for good. They can use those powers to encourage transformation. They can give us something to push up against. But it is such a superpower. No other sign can do that the way that Cancer can do that. Why I say all this is because the Chariot is very concerned with power. The Chariot card is a card that is really having you investigate and understand the power of your desires matched with your will, meaning that the Chariot card is about drawing in my essence, like drawing in my energy, and knowing that that nuclear reactor of my intensity is what will propel me forward. The Chariot card knows that they don't really need to actively move as much as they need to gather themselves, feel themselves so fully, and then join in life, join with the flow of life. The Chariot card can have an energy and medicine of control, of undue control. There's always going to be a tension around this idea of control and flow when the Chariot card comes up. So when you're dealing with the Chariot card, and I would say when you're dealing with Cancer energy, there's this way in which the water, the momentum, is really meant to flow unrestricted. And sometimes we have to test that. Sometimes we want to kind of clamp down on that. We want it to be different. We want to adjust the flow. We want to introduce new energy into the flow. We want to kind of like manipulate and experiment with our part in the play. So we become kind of very interested in how life is flowing, and we're kind of in it. And then at the same time, we have this, I want to kind of say immature, or it doesn't have any harm to it, but it can have the little bit of like see me, watch how I can choose or not choose to participate in the flow. Watch how I can close the valve and open the valve in terms of my engagement with the life force, with flow. And it does, what it reminds me of, it has that toddler energy where they do something that they don't actually want to do just to prove that they can say no. I mean, you've all had this experience, right? Where a toddler gets on this no kick and there's no. And then you can be like, would you like ice cream? And they're like, no. And they kind of want ice cream, or they want a hug, or they want to play, but they're experimenting with this idea of, I can say no if I want to. I can disconnect from flow if I want to. And I want you to think about that. Like, it's an interesting perspective. If life is moving and it has its own momentum, its own desire, its own revealing of itself. And part of your work is to be with what is, right? My work too was to be with what is, to be in the flow, to accept what life brings to you. We can be all on board with this idea of, I trust life, I'm in the flow, I seek flow, but then we also watch ourselves turn away from it and pull back and not trust it. And we have the right to do that. Like, our free will says you can decide, you don't have to be in flow. That's like a big conversation with the Chariot card. The Chariot card is like, I am all I need. Me fully grounded, soaking in my own power is all I need to be propelled forward to exactly where I'm meant to be, to meet life totally fully in this moment, to become all I'm meant to become. And sometimes I don't want to. Like, there's that great book, Cheryl Huber, what is it called? I don't feel like it. I don't want to. I don't feel like it. Something like that. But there's a truth to that. There's something interesting about the human right, the human free will to say, I don't want to. I don't feel like it. And Cancer energy is Cancer energy, yeah, but Chariot energy is very interested in that. It's very interested in your own. It's like you're your own worst enemy with the Chariot card. Do I want to take the time to be centered in my power? Do I want to trust life? Do I want to trust the flow? Do I want to trust my own power? Do I want to trust my own divinity? Or do I not want to? And how am I playing that game in a way that's actually quite revealing and quite interesting? I say all this because that is with us when we introduce the Devil card into this, right? So the Devil card is all about the ways that we are bound, the ways that we bind our own energy, the ways that energy is bound for us, the ways that we collude in a binding of the energy. We might say, like, I don't want it to be like that. I don't like the way that feels. I don't like the way that dynamic is. And yet we still engage with it. We still give it energy. We still give it life. And in that way, we're colluding with that bondage. We're colluding with that submission. We are all in service to something. We're in service to these bodies, and we're in service to the people we love. We're in service to our mortality. Like, we are just in service. It's part of the human condition. Is this is not a fully liberated experience. And we are liberated beings in our spirit, in our soul, in like our essence. And so there's always, to be incarnate in this world, to be incarnate in a body, is to always have this interesting tension and confusion and this boundary pushing around how liberated can I feel while I'm here? How liberated can I feel when I am in this bound body, in this bound incarnation, in this embodied experience of consciousness? That is really the heart of the devil card, right? The devil card is, you're bound. How bound are you? How seriously are you taking it? And how much do you realize that it's all just part of the game? It's all part of the experience. It's what I was saying before about that chariot energy of like, you are everything. You are everything. You are limitless and free and a divine creator in form. And yet you are in form. And so how much humor can you have about the fact that this is funny? It's funny to be this limitless divine creature of source, experience of source, experiencing itself. Like, that's funny. It's funny. And it's this idea of we have to not take it too seriously. And my mom used to always say about the devil card, when it shows up, make sure you are laughing. And many, many, many people who study tarot will say the same. When the devil card comes, if you are not laughing, that is the clue right there. You are taking something too seriously. And the Cancer energy coming in here is also this funny idea of like, notice the toddler in you. And I don't say that with anything but love and admiration for the fierce will of a toddler. Like, notice the toddler in you that's saying, that's kind of holding yourself back in certain ways. And that's cool. Like, you have the power to do that. And part of the experience is embracing your power around that and deciding when you want to open the valve, when you want to be in a good mood, when you want to join in life's flow, and when you just don't feel like. And the devil and the chariot together in July will be this very interesting view of all the ways you're binding your energy, all the ways you are disconnected from your power and your will and from source. And that's all right. Like, it's all good. And what's really interesting when you kind of start layering all these things together is Neptune goes into retrograde. Neptune going to retrograde will often wipe the illusion from our eyes, will often clear the lens. And it's going to be interesting. Like, you're going to see where you've bound your own energy, why, and what are you doing now? Like, okay, so I've done it that way. Do I still want to do it that way? Because you are not a toddler, right? You might have this toddler inside you, this fierce will inside of you, but because you aren't that, because you have other perspectives to bring to this experience, notice where you are self-sabotaging. Notice where you're self-sabotaging around your choice, your collusion to disconnect from source energy. And laugh about it, dude. Like, one thing I will say to you in July is, please do not take it so seriously. Cancer and Capricorn are not known for their levity. They are not known for their lightheartedness. They are not known for taking it all in stride, right? Cancer is deathly serious about their emotions, and Capricorn is deathly serious about their ambition and who they want to become and what they want to create in this world. And those two things together can get really heavy really quickly. And Neptune can further disempower us in that it's like we can lose our groundings, which can feel really scary. So we can kind of double down on that seriousness. So I like this feeling of Neptune going retrograde, because I like this idea of, okay, I see this clearly and I recognize where I have cut myself off from my power. And I'm going to, forgive myself for that, like not take it too seriously, and then get curious about where that's not working for me anymore. Where do I want to actually feel myself? Where do I want to embrace my own power? Like, where have I been cut off from that? Where do I want to experiment with that? What does that look like for me? Does that have to do with my body? Does that have to do with my art? Does that have to do with my ambition? Like, what does that have to do with? What's the part of me that I've been kind of holding back? Chariot is really not here. You know, Cancer's always that crab energy. I'm soft, I'm hard. I'm soft, I'm hard. And there's not a lot of gray area, right? It's like the soft meat of the crab or the hard shell of the crab. There's not a lot of flexibility. And Capricorn too, not really known for its flexibility. It's very focused and very beautiful in that energy, but not known for its like malleability. Malleability, flexibility will really be your friend in this energy. And just kind of noticing what you've done, noticing what reveals itself to you this month, and having a sense of humor about it. And then noticing, okay, this is how I've been cut off from my power. This is where I've chosen to cut myself off. This is where I've been bound. This is where I've been in service. This is where I've been giving myself away. And maybe that still works for me. Maybe that still feels really good. Maybe that's still really appropriate. And maybe I don't want to do it that way anymore. And you have such support from these Capricorn full moons to see something and say something, like to see something and be like, oh yeah, I don't want that anymore. That's not the way I want to be in this anymore. The illusion gets wiped from our eyes and we have the chance to wake up and see more clearly. Chariot and the Devil are very serious cards, and they're asking a lot of us. There's like this requirement to be strong, be clear, take it seriously. I would say to you that is too much this month. That we have July, we have summer, we have the Leo energy coming in at the end of the month. Like, take it easy a little bit. If you look at the Chariot card and the Devil card side by side, they're not that different, right? They can kind of feel like these mirror images of each other. The Chariot, the warrior, standing there clear and bright and sunny and free with these two sphinxes at her feet. And there's this idea in the Chariot that like they don't even need to hold the reins because they trust themselves so completely. They trust their power, they trust life, they trust momentum, they trust the flow so completely. The Devil is sitting on his throne, her throne, and the two people in front of them are chained. But it's always a funny thing, right? Because the chains are always loose. And there's this idea of contentment in your servitude, contentment in the ways you've held yourself back, you've tampered the flow. I think it's Marianne Williamson who says, we're not afraid of how powerless we are, we're afraid of how powerful we are. I totally butchered that quote, but I'm sure you've heard it before. And if you haven't, look it up. Because the idea is that really, really what holds us back in life is the knowing of how deeply powerful we are. Like if we turned it all the way on, we're afraid of that. Like, what would happen? Who would I be if I was really fully free? It was back to that room I talked about in the beginning. Like, we're all trying to get there. And yet sometimes, and this is why you don't judge someone else's journey. You don't judge where someone else is. You don't say you should have done it that way because that's bullshit. You don't know how someone should do it. You don't know what pacing is right for someone. You don't know what their own internal thermostat is saying about this feels good, this doesn't feel good. I want this much flow. I don't want this much flow. What would happen if I just stopped it all together? That's a choice people make. Let them make that choice. That's their right. That's their free will. That's their path, right? Their journey. And you don't want anyone judging yours, so don't judge anyone else's. I think I put it on Instagram. Forgive myself for the times when I turned it all the way off to protect myself. That's valid and true, and we've all done it. And Cancer gives us that power. Cancer gives us, the Chariot gives us the power to close the gates, shut it up. I don't want to hand it out. I don't want to give it away. I need to sit here for a minute and remember what's mine. The Devil says, you have the right to choose. You have the right to choose. And when the Devil card comes up, we've often forgotten. Capricorn is a brilliant example of that, right? Capricorn is known for its ambition, its ability to keep going. And yes, you know what you want. And yes, you can keep going. And should you always? I don't know, right? That's a question for you. But you see how there's this big energies, and then there's the recognition of how powerful you are within those energies, and whether you can how you can play with the dials, how you're kind of the wizard behind the curtain. And there's going to be a revealing, like a pulling back of that curtain, like, oh, it's been me here, modulating and experimenting and testing what I can and can't do. And now I might have a better sense of how powerful I really am. And now I might have a better sense of what I'm continuing to stay in service to. And now I might have a better sense of what I'm going to do with the power I've been given. So in this month ahead, you will probably see your own choices more clearly. And that's an interesting idea because in June, we really said my choices are my teacher. And this month, it's like I'm going to really have a clearer perspective on how I've given it away, why I've decided to do that, and whether I still want to do that. I don't know, these cards feel good to me together. They, at first it can feel a little bit like, it's a lot of energy, but I actually think it's a truth. There's a truth to the fact that there is a lot of energy, and there's a truth to the fact that you are more powerful than you ever give yourself credit for. Me too. And there's a truth to the fact that we are experimenting. And flexibility, malleability is our friend in that. And it's all about, we talk about like nervous system capacity. It's all about just kind of very gently experimenting with the flex and flow of energy and how much you want to hold, how much you can hold, how much you want to share with other people, how much you want to share with your art, how much you want to share with your work. Like it's all this modulation and experimentation. And it really does feel like forgive yourself for the toddler in you that maybe says no when you mean yes, or maybe says yes when you mean no. It's all learning, and there's going to be such clarity around that this month. And again, the Capricorn full moons kind of introduce this idea to you of what might need to change. And by the full cycle of this full moon, this full lunar cycle, we really are going to hold something that we've been holding the whole time. We're going to hold it very differently. That to me is cool. I'm excited to see where that goes. And this really speaks to me about liberation. It speaks to me about trusting yourself more. It speaks to me about wiping the grime off the lens so that there's more light available. That to me feels really good. I don't know that will be easy on the 3D, and it might mean you have to have some difficult conversations or speak up for yourself in a way you haven't before. But I do know that this is a liberation energy, and this is an empowerment energy. Okay, cool. Happy July, babies. Enjoy the sunshine. Enjoy your clarity and your liberation, and enjoy the whole show. Like, enjoy the fact that you can say no when you want to, and you can stomp your foot if you want to. And that's cool. That's part of the process. It's part of the growth. It's part of the learning. We are always okay, and we are always right on time. And life is not easy, but it's cool. All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye. It's giving everything is sacred. It's giving art. It's giving light you up and turn you on and set you free. It's giving curiosity. It's giving freedom. It's giving love. It's giving you are more magical and powerful than you can comprehend. It's giving, I don't know what's happening, but I am so here for it. It's giving you are pure potential. It's giving mystical.